everyone. I'm Dave Boucher, and welcome back to day 5 of this 6-month life transformation chronicle. As you can tell, I am wearing the thick sweater. We've got, I think, probably one more day of cold weather, and then we'll be back to some warmer temperatures, which I'm definitely looking forward to. But before I get going with the topic of the video, just want to ask you, as usual, how the baby steps are going. There was one great example from a viewer who said that they were dusting off their resume after, I think it was like 6 years of not looking at it, which is a great goal. The goal could be the resume as part of a bigger career change, or it could just be updating the resume because it's good to have an updated resume. So the baby step there might be just opening it up, reading it for a day, and then the next day, the next baby step might be making a couple changes and so on and so forth. So if you haven't started the baby steps, get going. And if you have, fantastic. Let's keep moving forward together. I next want to give a quick update on yesterday's news, basically. So I said that it was a very busy day, and it was. And so the outcome of that, one opportunity, it looks like there may have been some misunderstanding between myself and the potential client. So I think I'll be taking a step back on that one for now. It's not a dead opportunity by any means, but it's maybe not as a sure thing as I thought it was. But it's okay. At the firm I was at, and I guess in consulting in general, you're taught to have a bias towards action. So it's always better to be maybe too proactive and be told to maybe back off a little bit than not do anything because you're unsure of how to proceed. And it's definitely a fine line. You don't want to be seen as pushy, but I think in this case, it's okay. I've done my part, and now it's just up to me to wait on the other party and see what they want to do. However, I did meet up with a manager from a past employer, and it turns out, long story short, they're short-staffed. And I think they're going to try and block out a good amount of hours, actually, for me to do some contract work with them at regular intervals over the year. So, I knew this was going to be a roller coaster. There'd be some ups, there'd be some downs. And so there was a bit of a down, but there's also been an up. And if I have to look at this in the big picture, it's been great. I mean, if you'd have told me when I first turned in my resignation on December the 5th, that just about a month later, I'd almost be juggling opportunities, I'd say, no way, you're crazy. But that's awesome. So I think at this point, I'm not counting anything as set. I'm not taking anything for granted, but overall, I am making good progress. Another opportunity that I haven't really mentioned so far is tutoring. So I've tutored maths at various points in my life. In high school is when I started. After college, when I picked up really seriously. And actually, this apartment is pretty much furnished with money I made from tutoring. I picked it up again a couple years later. Obviously, it died when I was going back to school, and my jobs got more demanding. But when I was thinking about, the first milestone of this process, which is just covering my mortgage with income that I generate myself, the idea there was just reach the milestone. Like, who cares whether it's programming or writing or tutoring or whatever. But I wanted to take stock of what it was I could do to make that happen. And so tutoring was one of the obvious ones because I'd made money at it before. I enjoyed it, and frankly, I'm good at it. And so I, got going again with another student, and the results so far have been awesome. So I teach math and physics, but this was a physics lesson, and the student went from a 65 on the test prior to my lesson. I came in, and they got a 90, right? So even though I charge, very healthy rates, which I think are, in line with the market, but still healthy in an absolute sense, it's really important for me that the results are there. And that kind of brings home something that I try and think about more and more now, and that you should think about more and more if you're trying to go freelance, which is this concept of value. So if you have taken economics before, you've probably heard of the concept of the margins, right? So you always act up to the point where the marginal cost is equal to the marginal benefit. And even if you haven't heard the term, it makes sense, right? You only do something and put forth a cost if you think you're going to get at least as much back, if not more, in return. And that it becomes less general when it comes to wages. So the academic model for hiring is that you hire up until a point where the marginal wage, so the cost to the company, is less than or equal to the marginal product of labor, which is the output from that wage, from the unit of labor that wage produces, right? And so as a contractor, that's you. The idea is that you're being paid by the hour, and unless you show at least that much value for every hour that you put in, they're not going to hire you. Why would they pay you to get less out than they're putting in? And in fact, why would they pay you to get the same amount out? They'd rather just keep their cash, right? So I am super, super conscious of generating value. So every single hour that I'm paid, I want to make sure that I'm at least giving the same, but ideally much more than that back to the client, so that I keep generating value and they keep seeing that, yeah, it's worth keeping me on. And so as you go through your work life, or you're trying to transition to freelancing, and even just life in generally, right, in your interactions with other people, don't think so much in terms of fixed salary, or even when I say per hour, cost per hour, it's kind of misleading, right? You really want to focus on value, because if I charge $150 to come up with a solution that nets the client $10 million, that's tremendous value, right? And even though the market rate might tell me that the $150 is that number, the market's just an average, right? That doesn't reflect my particular contribution to that employer. And so this concept of value is really important in life generally, but especially if you're interested in trying to go down the path I am, which is value based. So the tutoring is a very nice example I can use to package that up. Thankfully, it's a positive outcome, right? I definitely think that's value to go from 65 to a 90. And I want to try and make sure I can mirror that success everywhere. So whether it's with my past employer who I'm in a contract with, or any future opportunity that comes up, I want to make sure that at the end of whatever I do for the client, they end up with more in their pockets than they paid me to have my services. So that's just kind of how I'm thinking right now. I'd say overall I'm still tracking really well. As these opportunities come up more and more, I'm thinking very deliberately about how to create that value to then create demand for my own services. And I think at this point it's just keep doing what I'm doing, and hopefully it's a numbers game, and things will work out for me, and I'll get my first opportunity sometime soon. So I think I'll leave it there at a couple other things I wanted to cover, but just for the sake of brevity, I'll leave until tomorrow on day 6, or maybe some of the later days. So before I leave you until tomorrow, I just want to keep reminding you again, keep those baby steps. As we keep going further and further along, and you start to make tangible progress, do share it in the comments, right? I think if you're comfortable sharing some of your progress, and your comment helps motivate other people, then I think that's fantastic. So keep at it. Have a great Friday night, and I will check back in with you guys tomorrow. Thank you.